So I'm so thankful to welcome the beautiful Jamie Sabat. So, Jamie, welcome so much to the podcast. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Yolanda, and it's a pleasure to be here and spend this time with you.
Yeah, well, it's amazing. And of course, we're going to get into your work, but I was like, gosh, this is such a beautiful and perfect topic and guest to have because a lot of people right now are figuring out which directions they want to go in their lives because so much last year shook up a lot for a lot of people. So I just want everyone to know you are a manifestation coach, you're also a Reiki master, and you are like an overall wellness consultant. So before we get into the work that you do and how it can really support people, even in starting business and just their overall lifestyle, can you tell us first of all, how did you get into energy work and how did you find yourself on this path so connected to the law of attraction and manifestation?
Well, it's such an interesting story how, the world is always shifting and evolving, and it's about us keeping up with it. And we obviously have things in our vortex that we've created through the contrast. And my journey really began with the natural birth of my daughter. I so much wanted to have a natural birth that in my 8th month, I discovered essential oils. So I was 8 months pregnant with Mila, and I was like, how can I do this? I really want to have a natural birth. And I discovered essential oils, and I was able to learn a protocol in that last month that I was pregnant to use essential oils to have a natural birth.
Wow.
And I feel like when she moved through the birth canal and into this world, I took my power back. I recognized who I was as a woman, as a mother, and how I could be my own healer. I could take control of my own destiny instead of going to a doctor or going to something outside of myself and looking at the external for happiness and for validity. I was able to do it on my own. And so that was super empowering and a beautiful moment with my daughter. Of course, there were many sleepless nights and breastfeeding and all of those things. But while I was on my maternity leave, I declared that I wanted to share these oils with other mothers, with other women, and with the world. So I began teaching at yoga studios here at Washington, D.C., and at Flow Yoga, I once a week had an oil table. And a woman kept coming back to my table every week to learn more about the oils and more about me and my story and how powerful the oils are, like really natural medicine. Well, she was a Reiki master. And she took me, and so of course, not a coincidence, it all happened for a reason. So she took me under her wing and mentored me, and I was able to do my level 1 and level 2 and move through the process of becoming a Reiki master myself and using essential oils in my practice. And as you're evolving, Yolanda, I was seeking. I was a student of life, a student of improvement and mindset. And I was actually, when I was at my corporate job, had to go up to New York for work. And on my way back, I saw that there was a manifestation teaching happening in Philadelphia. Abraham Hicks was going to be there. So I stopped for one night. At this point I had 2 children. So I stopped for one night in Philadelphia, found a motel, and went to see Abraham Hicks. And that was November of 2019. And that really started my journey on studying the law of attraction and manifestation.
Wow. I mean, there's so many questions I have for you, so much to unpack in that. But one of the things I love so much is just like the synchronicities and how you just followed or things were presented for you and then you just followed to see where that led. I have a million questions about the essential oils, but I want to save that to the end because I don't work that much with them personally, but I know it's a big topic that people are so curious about. How can they incorporate it into their practice and their life? So I do want to talk to you about, though, first, Distill and Express, your business and this wellness consultant agency, can we call it, that you've created. and really using these different elements. So not only did you get into just law of attraction, but you also incorporate the elements of like hypnosis, NLP, as well as the energy work. And a lot of your work is centered around, again, like how do we empower ourselves so that we can create the businesses and the lives that we love, which a lot of people, again, are in a space of exploring that. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this first. I know you have a course that people can access, Mastering Your Second Act. So I want to know what inspired that, what you were going through, like taking in all of this information, and how it came to be that you put these elements together in a practical way.
Well, one of the things that I really wanted to do, and actually COVID and quarantine kind of spawned this idea of, my background is actually trend forecasting. And I used to live in New York and do that for fashion. So I started to see this trend of people taking courses online during COVID. So I thought, what better way to get this type of information into people's hands and to empower them? You know, let's say we can't do a one-on-one, or you have a busy schedule, other women that are entrepreneurs or have children, you can do a course and you can take it at your own pace.
Right.
So I jumped on the bandwagon and learned the technology of like, how can I do this in a way that people can access it at their own time frame and when they wanted to do that. And then the name, Mastering Your Second Act, it's all about creating this new persona. So when we're looking at our subconscious mind and reprogramming the subconscious mind for abundance, it's like you're embodying a new persona, like a New Year's resolution of saying, oh, well, I'm going to go to the gym, you know, on January 1st. And then by January 15th, we've fallen off of that.
Right.
It's because we're using our conscious mind. But when we're using our subconscious mind, we're actually creating a new person. We're creating a new persona that's actually healthy and has a healthy value system. And then you go to the gym. So I love this idea of mastering your second act, because it gives us all an opportunity, no matter what age you're at or where you're starting from. You can take these principles of manifestation and implement them into your life at any point.
You know, and I'm glad that you bring it up and frame it that way, because a lot of people at this point have heard about manifestation, law of attraction, all of these things. And they're like, I just don't get it. Like, why is it not working for me? And so you even making that distinction of like, if we're trying to create just from a subconscious level versus the unconscious mind or the subconscious mind, that's where these elements that you are proficient in with like the hypnosis and the NLP, how can you just talk a little bit about how this can support us in what it is that we are creating and how these tools really come into play?
Yeah, that is actually my favorite question, Yolanda, because I like to really move mindset away from woo woo and more into science and energy. You know, as from Reiki, everything is energy and we're always manifesting. So there are actually 12 laws of the universe, but I'll just talk about the law of attraction. So the law of attraction says that which is like unto itself, it is drawn. So we are manifesting in our daily lives from whatever level that might be. So it might be you're in anger or stress or anxiety, but we want to manifest in the levels of joy and abundance and love. So what we need to do is we need to raise our vibration so the universe matches where we are. And so what I've learned through these powerful tools like hypnosis, time techniques, EFT, and NLP is that we are a reflection of our subconscious mind, which is developed from the age of 0 to 7. So from the age of 0 to 7, we're like sponges. We're picking up on everything that our parents teach us, caregivers, our teachers, other, children around us in our peer group, the media. So if you hear something like money doesn't grow on trees or money is the root of all evil, that is solidified in our subconscious mind. And then later on into adulthood, we are acting on that. Mm-hmm. So powerful tools like hypnosis and NLP let us go into the subconscious mind and change that programming. So then instead of vibrating here, we're vibrating it with a new conscious being at this level, and then we attract that. So it's really science.
Yeah, no, but I love that you share this with us, because I think a lot of people and a lot of us oftentimes are creating from fear and anxiety and worry, and don't even recognize it's just a means of like survival, right? So we just are like scattered in how it is that we're trying to create. But I like that you emphasize that it's really the self work that, so it's like we are in ourselves like the magnet, so to speak. And so what we start to magnetize and attract in is only going to amplify as we amplify what is going on in our inner world. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. It's
So,
all about that inner work.
okay. And so when you are supporting people in, raising their vibration or even working on their mental states, can you tell us, have you noticed a trend in that? Like, does it tend to be that people just reach a point in life and they're like, I don't know, like, I'm done. I need to find a new way. Is
Yes.
it usually people who are trying to become entrepreneurs? Like, what tends to be what brings people in this work?
Yes. Well, the people that I love working with and my dream clients are the ones that recognize the pattern in their life.
Mm.
They can see, I'm always dating people like this, or no matter what I do, I can never get that raise that I want to do. And they start to recognize the pattern, and they come to me and they say, Jamie, I want a better life. I want something that I know that I'm worthy of a better life. So then I'm working with a client who's ready to put in the work, because I'm not going to sprinkle fairy dust on you and then you
Right.
start manifesting. This is a process, and it takes human revolution, it takes dedication, and it takes work. It's kind of like the gym for your mind, where if I say you're going to visualize and you're going to meditate every single day for 5 minutes for 30 days, you have to do the work.
Right.
So that's really where working with my dream clients, where they recognize the pattern, they want to make a change. They're at that place. And I feel like from 2020 and all of the shifts and impacts that we've seen, more and more people are getting woke and
Yes.
want to do that.
Yeah, and I think that's so critical. What you highlighted is the patterns, because we all have these patterns, and it's interesting because I think even unconsciously, like a lot of times we will identify that, like, oh, I always blah blah blah, or I never, whatever it may be, but we don't really kind of sink into the repetition of it all, or like, how do I come out of this cycle? So I think that's a huge thing, and then that must make it easier for you and even the client if they know what the challenge may be. Like, specifically, this is okay. So I would come to you and say, like, Jamie, I'm going round and round and round with this particular thing, and then that's where a lot of the work begins.
Exactly. And, sometimes there are clients that have several things going on, like they want to meet their perfect partner, they want to manifest abundance, but having that very specific dream of what it is that you want to create and recognizing that you don't have it is the best place to start.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. And I have to ask you to clarify something first, because you mentioned it and I was curious about it, even, looking at your work, time techniques. So could
Yeah.
you explain to us, because I know it's part of the work that you do, what are time techniques?
So time techniques are one of my favorite things to do, because it's a little bit like time travel. So the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So we can do all kinds of visualizations to trick our mind into getting what we want. So with time, we have a timeline of our life that you can visualize. You can visualize the moment of now, into the past, and into the future. So one of the great activities that I like to do is travel back into our childhood. Some of my clients can go back as far as past lives or generational, and they can see the moment of, let's say, anger. And what we can do is float above that moment, the very first time that you felt anger, and get the learnings from it. So it's almost like you can change the past,
Yes.
and then you can move up your timeline into the moment of now, looking at other moments that if you didn't feel that anger, what would those scenarios in your life look like?
Uh-huh.
So it's super, I mean, the first time I had it, because I've practiced with other practitioners, I like cleaned my whole house. I didn't know what was going on. I felt very light and I had all this energy, and because it's time travel, you're changing your timeline. And then you can do other powerful things. Like if you have a goal, like I want to make $500,000 by this specific time, we can travel into your future and visualize it and implant it into your timeline and feel it and see it and hear it and smell it as if it's real. So we can change our timelines.
It's interesting because it's really highlighting, I guess, that word that we hear so much is mindset. I mean, so much of this, and I often say this even with like Reiki, energy work, all of these things that we do, a lot of it, what it reveals to us is our mindset, what we hold in thought, our perspectives around things, but how that impacts us on every level, really, like our emotional level, what we do in the world, what we hold ourselves back from. So all of your work really, I mean, there's a lot of focus then on mindset, no matter what it is the person is like trying to heal, trying to set goals around. And now that I'm saying that, I want to ask you that too. Is it with the work that you do, aside from just like, hey, Jamie, I want to create X, Y, and Z, do people work with you? Is it an ongoing process, or do people come to you for like one goal at a time? Like, how does this work?
Yeah, well, the funny thing is that everything is connected, right? So you find that as you're working on something, something else might come up. And that, it's intertwined. And what I like to do is I like to do, a session of six sessions, which we move progressively from. I use astrology to look at your birth chart, to figure out where your stars were aligned when you took your first breath, moving into tapping techniques, time techniques, and into hypnosis, where you're reprogramming your mind. But first, we do a lot of clearing. So in that clearing process, we can see what the obstacles are, what the roadblocks are, what are the things that are coming up. And depending on the person, some of them might be a few roadblocks and some of them might be longer. So, and I also, because we're shifting the mind and we're shifting your routine, I like to give my clients enough time to absorb and implement these tools into their life. Like if I say, start off meditating 30 minutes a day, well, if you've never meditated before, you're not going to be able to achieve that. So I say, start off meditating 5 minutes a day, and then we work our way up to it.
That's beautiful. And then I have to ask too, because I know that, as we mentioned, you are also a Reiki master. So do you bring energy work into this work when you're working with clients? And how does that fit in? Is it kind of just if you feel they need it, or it's part of the program?
It's part of the program. So I do like to include one energy session as a part of the program. But I'm constantly doing energy work just because, as you know, it's in my nature. And I've had clients start businesses after receiving energy work and setting up their LLCs and their bank accounts. So to deny the power of energy work would be to deny who we are at our core. So I'm always doing energy work, and I'm always, like obviously pre-COVID, I was, seeing people in person, but now I'm doing distance Reiki, and distance Reiki is powerful.
Yes. No, it is very powerful. And that's something else I wanted to ask you as well, because again, like with this work, and so much is shifting for people. And I wish I could have met you while I was just in DC. But do people have an opportunity to do all of this work with you remotely? Is it? Yeah.
Yes. And so it's actually, there's so many blessings. I try to look at the silver lining of every moment so that we can move forward in our lives. But I have a women's group now, and a couple of us are on the East Coast and some of us are in LA. Okay. So that's the beauty of it. It's not like, oh, Thursday night, we need to show up at Jamie's place to do this. Right. We have Zoom. So let's take advantage of the technology and this opportunity. And it's interesting how the group is vibrating on the same pathway and same energy vibration, even though we're in different locations.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I love group work. I work with a group called the Alchemy Circle, and it's become my passion. I absolutely love it. But I'm so curious too, because, and with working with so many different people and meeting people of different modalities, I'm always amazed by, I love it when you hear that people have learned different techniques and they find the blend. They find the technique that works for them, or they figure out a way that you can bring these things together to really support something in particular. So, with what you studied, was it just, as you're going through your path, one thing popped up, like NLP popped up, then all of a sudden Reiki, then all of a sudden this? And was it your own life path that kind of showed you, like, hey, these have to come together? What was the story?
Yeah, I love that you're saying that, Yolanda, because it's a journey, and I believe in letting things happen naturally and more magnetizing rather than chasing.
Yes.
So actually, I have incorporated healing touch, which is another healing modality, as you know,
Yes.
with my Reiki techniques. And that just came to me because I met another practitioner who was working on me. And I was like, oh, what are you doing? And she's like, I do healing touch. So then she taught me. And I try to be intuitive and try to really tune into the client's energy to figure out what's necessary at the time. I mean, it's good to plan a little bit, like what you're going to do with your sessions and moving along the program, but I really try to be intuitive, and I try to let source guide me and try to tap into the flow.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And and with you saying this, and my mind just went to two different things. I'm like, I hope I don't forget to ask you. But one, I really want to ask you about the helping people, empowering people around, starting their own businesses and these types of things. Because again, it is very common, especially for people who listen to the show and wanting to come into the wellness field. And we know there can be a lot of mental challenges around that, a lot of old stories around that. So when people come specifically for work, say, and wanting to start their own path in that way, is it, have you found that a lot of times it's just people trying to figure out, like, what's my niche? Or is it more about how can I accomplish this? Or is it always come back to what are my personal blocks around this? And then all of a sudden everything else opens up like a floodgate.
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. I feel like it's definitely related to challenges. It's funny how my clients have all turned out to be female entrepreneurs for some reason. There's definitely a reason for it. And some of them have come to me with 9 to 5 jobs, with blocks and with challenges. And as we peel back the layers of the onion and uncover what it is that they desire, they've created businesses that became the resolution to their problem of, like, time constraints, money constraints, feeling like they're not living their true life purpose. It's like, oh, well, you could start a business. And it's all about your mindset. Do you think it's hard to start a business, or do you think it's easy to start a business? If you think it's easy to start a business, then you can just start one.
Right.
So
Right.
all about your mindset. So usually it's an unpacking. It's removing the layers of what's really bothering you? What's causing you this pain? Why are you in distress? Let's discover what that is. And then as we move through, of course, I'm happy to assist you in getting your LLC and logos and a website design, all of those sorts of things. But first, let's discover what's going on.
Right. I like about this is it sounds like to me like, yes, a lot of times we think we know what we want. And so I may show up to you and say, Jamie, this is my goal. And then we start peeling back the layers, peeling the onion, as you say. And then I may discover that what actually feels more in alignment with me may be something I didn't even necessarily consider, or it may be much bigger or just even look different than maybe what I thought initially. So those things that we work through can even like change the picture for us, so to speak. Have you found that that happens for people?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Where you think that it's one thing
Right.
because your conscious mind is telling you, your
Yes.
conscious mind is saying, well, I have to go to business school because everyone in my family has gone to business school, and that will be the path to joy. Well, let's see. That's always my whole line is, well, let's see. Let's see what it is before we make a decision. And when you start peeling back the onions and figuring it out what you want, like I have clients that come to me looking for a perfect partner, and they think their partner is one thing. And as they start evolving and figuring out some of their blocks or what it is that they want in their own life, their partner is someone else.
Yeah, it's a totally different picture. That's really interesting. So it sounds like, I mean, overall, there's a lot of support people can get working with you one-on-one, or maybe even coming to your group. And you said you do the Reiki sessions remotely as well. And of course, we're going to give contact information for you. But I want to go back to the mastering your second act as well, because I know that can be a beautiful foundation for people that are still kind of scratching their head of like, what is this law of attraction, but what's it really about? So could you tell people, is this, I know it's an online course, but is it a free course? Is it really open for everyone? What can people get from this class?
Well, the beautiful thing is it's 2-in-1. So right now you can actually go to the website and listen to a 30-minute free master class that I created. So please, everyone, go sharing my top secrets on how to create abundance, how to, manifest in your favor, and how to get what you want with ease. So I encourage everyone to do that. And then you can get a subscription and purchase the course. And it could take you 8 weeks, but depending on how quickly you go, you can take the course at your own pace, learning the steps to abundance and using the law of attraction to bring what you want into your life. And we also do a Facebook group where you can call in and ask questions. And I do that call once a week.
Oh, beautiful.
So
okay.
Lots of support.
Yeah. So then they can go to Mastering Your Second Act. Yes. MasteringYourSecondAct.com. You can watch the master class and then go deeper and actually take the 8-week course and connect with you in the Facebook group, working with, even like getting feedback from others, I imagine, in that group space. I mean, so much, much come up.
That's what you were saying, the beauty of the group work. And it always happens at the perfect timing, that the right people show up at the right time with that similar energy. So no, there's no such thing as a silly question. Someone else might ask a question. You might get so much benefit out of it.
Right.
That's the beauty of the group.
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to ask one last thing before you go. So I understand that people can take the course, which is great, because I really believe in giving people the tools so then they don't necessarily become dependent on us, that they recognize that they can do this themselves, right? So it's a beautiful thing. However, of course, there are times where we really do need the support. I mean, we all do. So when people want to try to figure out like, oh, is the class for me, or should I just work with Jamie directly? Is there anything that would help distinguish like which maybe I should start first if this is something that I'm looking into?
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's really timing. What is your timing like? And then I just opened up my books for Q2. So if someone would like to work with me one-on-one, I'm happy to discuss that. But I know a lot of people recently have been wanting to do something at their own pace.
Yes.
So just depending on your timing and your comfort level, doing one-on-one work, it can be intense.
Yes.
And depending on what you're up for at that moment in time. So if you feel like you're more at a beginner level, I would recommend taking the course so you can learn more about the law of attraction, learn more about what manifestation is and kind of the laws of the universe and how that works. And then if you're feeling like you need more support, as you say, or to go deeper, we could talk about the one-on-one.
Beautiful. Okay, so I just want to say again, and I'll put it in the show notes, go to masteringyoursecondAct.com to be able to access the free masterclass and have access to the actual course itself. But then we can also go to distillandexpress.com for more information about your full body of work. So again, all of that will be in the show description, of course. So Jamie, I have to circle back though, because told you at the beginning, I was so curious about the essential oils.
Yes.
And the question I have for you about it is, I know a lot of people, some people talk about the scent and like how impactful and powerful different scents can be. But then there's also the question of, well, do I need to put the oils on my body? Is it just about the aroma? Do I place it in certain spots? What is it like? How can we work with oils in a way that's more beneficial, especially if we're just beginning?
Yes. So there's a lot happening with essential oils, and I just want to educate everyone that I only use a specific type of oils, which is doTERRA. And the reason why I do that is because they test every single bottle.
Okay.
There are brands and companies out there that have wonderful products, but they don't necessarily test every single bottle. So that's important for me, because for me, it's medicinal. I drink my oils, I diffuse them, I use them on my children, I clean with them. There's no Advil or anything like that in my home. So because I want this medicinal grade quality, I use doTERRA. And there's some wonderful classes out there, and I teach this in my practice as well, of where to place them, which ones to use, and at different times during the day. So just to give everyone like a little tip, mornings are great with citrus blends. So citrus bliss or wild orange or lemons or anything like that are super brightening for the morning. And then I love to use things like peppermint as a pick-me-up. So you can inhale them and breathe in peppermint, or roll it on the back of your neck, or put a drop on your tongue instead of having it like an afternoon coffee. You could just use peppermint to brighten your day. And then in the evening, I love using oils like lavender and serenity and balance that are more calming. And let me tell you, I've put them on my children at night to help them sleep and diffuse them, and it makes a big difference.
Oh, wow. Okay. And it's interesting too, hearing you say even clean with them. And I'm thinking like, okay, you put some in a bottle and with water, like you blend. So, but all of this can be learned through you. I mean, you have even more information about the essential oils on your website, Distill and Express. So of course, and this will really truly be the last thing I ask you, but I loved the name of your business, Distill and Express. So I wanted to know if you could just share with us what that means to you and why you chose it as the name.
I love it because I started my journey with essential oils, and Distill and Express are the two ways essential oils are created. So the distillation process is something that more people would probably be familiar with, like a rose petal, sitting many thousands and thousands of rose petals in water. And the steaming process is called distillation. And that's how you would get the essential oil from petals. And expression is more for the citruses. So lemon, lime, orange, where it's compressed and pressed down and the oil is expressed out of the plant. So, and then a lot of my friends were like, I love it. It's like, express yourself and distill and figure out like what's going on in the world. So it really became such a fun name that so many people have loved and connected with, but it really is just the process of how essential oils are created.
I love that. It's so funny because when I saw it, I thought like, oh, man, she's talking about like purifying and extracting like the best parts of ourselves, thinking like all alchemical, that's beautiful. I mean, well, it still is, but that's beautiful. So to learn more about Jamie and Jamie's work, go to distillandexpress.com, and don't forget to go to masteringyoursecond-act.com to take the class. Especially, I think these are great tools for all of us to understand in a deeper way, because like what you mentioned in the beginning, we're all creating all the time. We're manifesting and creating all the time. So we might as well do it with some more awareness and intentionality, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you so much, Jamie, for coming and sharing your work with the community. It was a pleasure meeting you today.
Oh, thank you so much, Yolanda, and love being with you. Thank you.
Thank you, love. And for everyone else, we will see you soon. Bye for now.